My aunts made my life a nightmare while I was caring for my sick father.
That's the worst time to have nightmares.
So, some quick background. I was no contact, but my dad was low contact with his sisters Lola, Penny, and Susan due to previous drama, i.e. Lola and Penny chasing 17-year-old me out of the house, screaming how selfish I am and blah, 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 because I didn't go on a cruise with other family members, and they thought I was acting out against them. I hate the very idea of cruises. Just that whole mess led to the low contact and no contact. Dad and I eventually moved to the Mojave Desert for a completely different reason, but his sisters all moved to the city we used to live in, and Dad said, wow, we moved just in time. By the way, this comes from Anonymous42. This comes directly from the r/OKstorytime subreddit, folks. Fast forward to January 2024. Dad and I are roommates. I'm 40 female, Dad's 64 male, and we decided this worked for us after all the drama in our lives. I come home for lunch and I don't see Dad. I call out and he's on the floor, half out of the bathroom. Don't worry, I called here myself. Really, Dad? Back and forth, that ends in a 911 call and an ambulance ride to the hospital. Lola calls Dad's phone during this, and I blow it off until the ambulance takes him, and I call her back and fill her on what happened. Dad is in an altered state. My brother-in-law makes it to the hospital to check on me, thanks to my niece, who I called on the way to the hospital, and concurs my statements to the hospital staff that this is not normal. Lola calls for updates as the saga continues. Dad is admitted. He has undiagnosed diabetes and has to have his left foot removed. Surgery scheduled in the AM. What even is my life right now? Oh my God. Wow. He told me last week he needed me to get him stuff for foot fungus. His toe was black. He's a grown butt man. I didn't expect any of this. Oh wait, he has no health insurance. He never signed up for it. It lapsed from the military after he retired. He never signed up through his post-military retirement stuff, never signed up for the VA, yet another struggle through this journey. Surgery happens, I'm alone with him and have to break the news to him the next day when he wakes up and is fully aware and himself. I was terrified he'd hate me. His reaction, you saved my life, relieved exhale. And hours later, his sisters show up. They help me get him signed up for Medicare since he's turning 65 soon, and working to get VA benefits and looking for other stuff. Only the Medicare and Social Security came to fruition. Everything else was a bunch of issues I still don't have the energy to think about. Sisters tell me they'll help me with whatever I need, anytime I need it. I think that maybe the tide is shifting. It takes some time, but we get him in a skilled nursing inpatient facility near me so I can see him every day during his recovery. My new normal is working, then going to see him after work and spend time with him, keep his spirits up, encourage his recovery. Lola is constantly going on trips out of state, cruises. Penny and Susan are childcare for the grandbabies. His wound is super slow to heal. He can rarely eat and is nauseous and worse all the time. We go to other appointments to address tummy issues, but it never gets resolved. He loses so much weight. I am there every day with the exception of a music festival he refuses to let me cancel because I bought tickets and hotel the year before since I wanted to see Danny Elfman there, and I've been waiting to see him for 20 plus years. I made sure my niece came down to spend that weekend with him so he had visitors. Most days, Dad had to tell me to go home and get rest. I was getting stuff ready for him to come home. In the middle of all of this, my birthday happened. I didn't want to mention it because I didn't want to stress him out. Lola, in her infinite wisdom, tells Dad, and he gets upset. He didn't get me a present. I'm spending so much time fussing over him, and he's a bad dad and didn't remember my birthday. Effing Lola. I calmed him down and said I needed new tires, so I'll buy them with his car. I didn't, but he didn't need to know that. But this was the start of his sisters stressing him out. I send updates when things happen, but apparently that's not enough. They text demanding to know what's going on with our brother. Fine. I'll swallow my stress and send daily texts as I leave the SNIF. Not like I'm doing anything. Dad finally gets a prosthetic. My FMLA ran out. Long story, but yeah. I also got a promotion that was almost like a new job. I have to work to keep paying bills at home as Dad's pension goes to medical bills. Penny went with him to the 2 appointments to get it. Then things go downhill.
Oh my
More
gosh.
downhill?
They haven't already gone downhill yet.
Oh my gosh. He keeps having times where the SNIF staff are concerned he's not himself. Hospital he goes to thinks it's just infections messing with him since he seems better after meds. I mean, come on, let's do some more research into that. Let's look into it before we just write it off.
Please.
If he doesn't seem like himself, let's check in on that.
Please.
Until the afternoon, I go to his room and see he's not in his room. His bed is stripped, his wheelchair's off in the corner. I go to the CNA and ask, "Where's my dad?" She's floored and went, "Didn't they call you?" Long story short, he was acting off and his heart rate tanked. They transferred him to a hospital over an hour away, but no one called me like they were supposed to. I called his sisters when I found out where he was as I was driving there. I would be furious.
Yeah.
I would be furious with that staff if they didn't call you.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Because, I mean, excuse me. It's like, it's one thing if, like, you know, maybe he had to go to a different one for, I don't know, like, population in the hospital reasons, something like that. But it's another thing if, like, the reason he had to go is because his heart rate tanked.
Yeah.
And I have to drive an hour before I could see him, and who knows what's going to happen within that hour.
Absolutely.
My gosh.
Lola found out the room info and everything. I get to dad. He sobs, "You found me. I couldn't contact you and I was so confused." Sisters show up hours later. They come back the next day while I'm at work. Turns out he's in heart failure. Ugh. He can't have open heart surgery. His health is that bad and he won't survive that kind of surgery. They're going to place stents that weekend. Penny comes for the surgery. Lola takes off on another trip. Susan is, I don't even know. After rushing to get there after work before Dad goes into surgery, I'm there and the first person he sees when he wakes up, much to Penny's annoyance. Actions are taken at the SNIF. And new SOPs are put in place because of them not notifying me and to get Dad back to the SNIF. Now the sisters decide to visit him more often. Unfortunately, they are awful to the staff that take care of him on the regular. They're not the ones who failed to notify me. The people they are rude to are freaking angels and are amazing to Dad. They're constantly talking trash about the facility. Excuse me, what bills are you paying? They get Dad riled up, and I have to spend so much time calming him down. He's still not eating regularly. I'm working with the dietitians and the staff to get him protein drinks so he's at least getting calories, and making sure they order his favorite flavor. Bless Caroline. She loved him. He lost nearly 100 pounds because of all this. While all of this is going on, they're constantly calling me at work and texting me, "You need to do this. This needs to happen." One day, I received 45 texts in less than 8 hours. I called Lola sobbing, saying, "I can't do this." She says she'll talk to the sisters to calm down. Yeah, that didn't happen. Honestly, I would put them on do not disturb. You know, I just wouldn't respond. I'd be like, "Hey, I'll let you know if anything's happening otherwise." More of the same. The SNIF nurses tell me as I've come in that the sisters came in to see Dad and he's agitated. I have to calm him down before I can actually visit with him. Yeah, huge help. In the midst of all of this, I see how much Dad is going downhill, and I realize Dad is not coming home. I never tell him or let on that this is a reality, but I see it. I still go to see him every day. There were a few days I was ill and couldn't, but I FaceTimed him. Not a day went by that I did not talk with him. I watched movies with him. I shared TikToks with him. I shared new music I found. I tried to keep things at a level of normal I could. Breaking point. Penny, who said she'd handle the cardiologist appointments, and her daughter had a mix-up with an appointment. In the group text, it was mentioned about the daughter taking the day off for the appointment, but the SNIF didn't know about the appointment, so no transportation was arranged. Dad also had contracted the vid, and guess what? I was the only one to go and see him in person. Lola had another trip scheduled, and the others had comments about how Dad needed cardiologist appointments. Here, I'll say where we are. The closest cardiologist is almost an hour and a half away. Penny had said she'd handle this. Remember how everyone had said they'd help me any way I need? Well, buckle up. Susan says, "I'm not sure how to get through to Anonymous. She seems clueless or just doesn't care. It's especially sad if it's the latter." Penny says, I know, that's why I'm so sad. WT ever loving F. I respond, I do care. Wait, I'm sorry, they sent that directly to you?
Oh my gosh.
They texted you. It seems like it's a group chat. And they
Wait,
said,
yeah.
it seems like she's clueless or doesn't care. What?
Saying that in front
In
of her.
front of her?
As if she's not there, though. She's not saying it to OP. That's crazy.
I respond, I do care. I'm trying to keep my job as well. There are not cardiologists in this area. I'm working 10 plus hours a day, 6 days a week. You all act like I'm out partying, but the time I can actually make any calls, there are not doctor's offices open. I'd like to keep my job and my home and not wind up on the effing streets. You all have these big families, and who have Dad and I had? Each other. I found him on the floor and discovered he was hiding all these things from me and had no idea anything was wrong. But I'm clueless and don't care? Awesome. Thanks. Really. Thanks for making my migraine that much worse while I'm at work. Have a great frickin' day, everyone. Lola sends a one-on-one text trying to backpedal, and I told her I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want an apology from Penny or Susan because they'd only be sorry they were caught, and I didn't want to hear from any of them ever again. And I don't. I don't say anything to Dad because he doesn't need that stress. But it takes one other instance of hearing from the SNAF about their behavior, once he is vid-free and they actually come see him. But he's so upset and making comments that are things the sisters have said. His mental state has declined to where he's like a child mirroring what adults say. That I forbid any updates on his status to be given to the sisters. The staff asks if I want them banned from visiting, but I won't do that to Dad. If they actually show up, I won't stop it, but the staff says they'll keep a closer eye on them. He has another trip to the bigger hospital, and a neurologist tells me he's been having transischemic attacks for years. This explains everything. Symptoms for years. Dad doesn't understand the impact of this. I keep my happy face for him, but inside, God's pieces fall together. I'm being as strong as I can, telling my older sister all of this, and she just tells me she loves me and is proud of me. 2 weeks later, I'm told he needs to be put on hospice. The hospice staff ask if they want me to have them tell him. Again, I can't do that to him. I tell him. That was the hardest thing I had to do up to that point. I tell him I just want them to help him be comfortable, and he says, that sounds wonderful. This man, he'd constantly shoo me out of his room, tell me to go home and get rest when he could. Now this man undoes me. It seems like he really cares for you, and he wants to make sure that you're not he can put as little stress as he can on you.
Right.
While also obviously needing a lot of extra care.
Right. I know that's really sweet that even when his mental state is declining, he still is
looking out for his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister comes out with her daughter and granddaughter a week and a half later. He declines so fast. He can't talk. He's not really there. I had to explain to a fussy 4-year-old, I'm sorry we're not playing with you much. My daddy is really sick, but the next time you come see me, he won't be sick anymore and we can play all you want. And my sister was really grateful I did that. Talk about explaining in an age-appropriate way. September 4th, I got the call in the middle of the night. Dad is gone. Ugh. I call my sister. She calls the aunts and hops on a plane as I go to the SNIF for a final goodbye. That's really tough. I'm so sorry, Anonymous. I mean, you've had all of this kind of put on you, and his sisters are making it infinitely harder.
Yeah.
But I think that, I hope that that it seems like it's very clear that your dad really appreciated everything that you did for him. And I think that you really, made his quality of life as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
With all of, the physical health stuff that was going on.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. That's just hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to see someone decline like that.
Yeah,
it's hard
especially like a parent.
Right. And it's hard to be the only one to be taking care of it.
Yeah, because it seems like her sister's probably taking care of her kid.
Yeah.
And because I was wondering why OP Anonymous had to do kind of all the work, but I think it's probably because sister's taking care of a 4-year-old.
Yeah. Wow.
But there is a little bit left to the story. I get a message the next morning from a family friend I was waiting for daylight to call that he saw on Facebook from my aunt's page that Dad passed. How is it possible for these women to make me more angry? My sister, nieces, and I were waiting to post until we had called certain people because, that's the right thing to do. And also just when you lose someone that close to you, of course, people want to say How are you feeling? We're so sorry for your loss. To go through that onslaught of texts right after you lose your father, so
I know
much to
it's
deal
like
with.
I feel like, I mean, if some people can value that like validation, I can see that, but it just feels weird to just post on it and social media like
Yeah.
at all right away. You know,
Right, like a day after.
yeah, right? Like it's just weird.
My sister called and screamed at my aunt. The poster was removed, but the damage was done. I just have no words for the anger and grief that these three have caused me, but more importantly, my dad. In the last months of his life, I still haven't heard from them. I have dad's ashes and he can be interred with my mom, but it would be really close to Lola's first husband. My dad waited until after my mom's mom passed to inter her. Well, I am my father's daughter. We'll see if I wait. The one thing I'm thankful for is that while I was looking for TikToks to show Dad, I discovered a guy with dimples and a bucket hat. That led to the wonderful discovery of my OKST family. No matter the struggle, I'm glad that I have this community to support me.
Oh,
We all, are here for you. And anyone who's watching this, put some hearts in the chat for Anonymous, who's one of our own.
Do.
And Anonymous, if you're watching this, thank you for sharing your story. And I really hope that, you are taking the time to be with the family that is not causing you trouble and cares about you and cares about, making life easier for you rather than harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because your aunts sound not great.
Yeah.
But that is the end of that story.
My son threatened to cut me off because I refused to babysit.
That's a terrible reason.
I, 44 female, have 3 kids. The eldest, 25 male, is married and has a 1-year-old. He and his spouse have professional jobs and live about an hour and a half away in perfect traffic. Additionally, I have an 18 male and 14 male son still at home. Youngest homeschools and is autistic and ADHD. I work at home providing remote services and have a professional undergrad degree in social work. I am the primary support for my own aging parent in terms of appointment transport and such. By the way, this comes from Dismal Inventable 240, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/okstorytime subreddit. So, my parent lives nearly 45 minutes away in the opposite direction of my married adult child, and my parents' specialists are roughly an hour and 20 minutes from his house. My spouse works a job that requires a significant amount of travel out of state for weeks at a time, engineering projects and factories for system changes. I had the same student client for 4 years. I provide communication accessibility services for people receiving educational instruction. Think closed captioning for classrooms in real time. When my eldest was in undergrad, he lived with my parent the last half of his study years. By the time he started his graduate studies, he had gotten an apartment he had shared with a friend. He came to me with a spreadsheet and we discussed how much I could support his expenses when it came time for clinical hours, which impeded his ability to find a work and study balance. So we had maintained covering things like his cell phone bill, car insurance, medical insurance, plus a set amount per month for groceries and gas. When my eldest and his significant other found out that they were pregnant, we were supportive, purchased things to help them out, etc. We contributed to wedding expenses in the form of purchasing and prepping all table decor for the reception, etc. Her family also contributed. That was all fine and good. I've been thankful we've been able to assist in these ways. I've taken care of the grandbaby for a few hours here and there and a few days at a time here and there. I've found that the extended stays at this particular time in my life, with other responsibilities considered, have been more than I'm prepared to handle. I'm worn out and it takes me a few days to recover afterwards. I realize my age isn't old, but I had cancer 10 years ago, and I haven't been the same since all that. Then I busted a rib and had a partially collapsed lung I had to recover from. Coincidentally, my parent ended up with the same injury a year later. Dang. Basically, I'm tired, y'all. My middle is nearly flying the coop. My youngest is just 3.5 years from 18. He might choose to stay home, but he's capable of meeting his basic daily needs and likely could live independently if he chooses. I made my choices throughout the years, and I did my best for my kids and have been able to navigate those challenging accountability talks with the boys about my shortcomings. But at this point, I'm looking forward to some time with my husband on the road in a few years. I have professional aspirations that I've left on the back burner for years while prioritizing trying to meet the needs of my kids and trying to give them steady and stable and solid foundations. But for the last year, this eldest and his spouse kept asking me to quit work to provide full-time childcare for them because, quote, daycare is expensive. Neither of them want to be a stay-at-home parent or part-time employee. That eldest says, but I want to get my student loans paid off. To which I try not to be too cheeky when I giggle and say, felt, still paying my own off. I didn't finish my undergrad till 2016, then was diagnosed with a big C 3 months later. So then we had those medical expenses. It's like, yeah, well, I had student loans when I was having you. I could basically contribute to paying for your student loans when you're having a kid too.
The thing is that, like, I really think people just don't think through having kids.
Yeah.
And you gotta realize kids are incredibly expensive.
Incredibly expensive.
And you're gonna have to, do things that you don't necessarily want to do. Like, pay for expensive daycare, or maybe one of the, parents stays at home. You gotta do things that you didn't want to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, I mean, I get it. Might have been a mistake, but you still have those responsibilities.
You decided to take the child.
Yeah.
You decided not to give up the child. You decided, to have the child.
If you don't want to,
absolutely, like that. If that's the decision you want to make, then yeah, absolutely, it's fine.
Sure. But if you don't want to make the sacrifices that you need to, you can't expect someone else to. Come on. Again and again, I've told them that I do not intend to provide full-time care. And again, I point out the logistical nightmare I think it would be. Nobody needs to be commuting 3 hours round trip morning and night, and I'm not prepared mentally or physically to have a grandkid dependent on me for care for several days a week. Mama is tired. Granny is tired. Tired in the way of I provided a lot of care to my own younger siblings, then other people's kids, then raised my own kids, almost done. Tonight, once again, I was asked. I finally just said directly, I love this grandbaby and I don't mind the occasional few hours or occasional overnight. But I've been raising babies most of my life and I'm not equipped for what you're asking of me. I feel like my son and his spouse are going to have to navigate their choices and their future and their family dynamics without depending so heavily on me as their answer to not wanting to spend the money on childcare and not putting in the effort to find a backup for sick days and when the daycare is closed for breaks. There have been several points where comments have left me feeling like my son feels entitled and like he has taken for granted the supports he already has. I can provide examples, but I've already written a novel, so am I the a-hole? And there are some comments. Comment number 1 says, your son sounds incredibly selfish and entitled. Asking you to drive 3+ hours a day to provide free childcare when you still have kids at home and debt? It's cruel. Someone responds, not the a-hole, that drive is an unreasonable request. Add to that your gas expenses. Was your son planning to cover that? And the mental and physical strain on you and time away from your other responsibilities. And I feel your son has leapt beyond unreasonable straight to delusional. They are adults and can work this out on their own. Comment number 2 says, part of learning to adult is figuring out your own problems without running to mommy and daddy whenever it gets a little hard. No is a complete sentence. Just keep saying no. Sooner or later, the penny will drop that no really does mean no. If they have to pay for childcare, well, boo-hoo. So do a lot of other folks. Someone has to be a stay-at-home parent. Lots of people do that too, and take the financial hit that goes with being a single-income family. You have provided great support over the years, and I feel that the eldest son is taking all of that for granted with the latest request/demand. Again, no is a complete sentence. Rinse and repeat as often as needed. Comment number 3 says, couples that can't afford kids shouldn't have them. Let them apply for government benefits or maybe discover how cheap wiener wrappers are. OP responds to that. The punter is they do bring in enough. He just doesn't want to spend it on childcare.
Sorry.
That's crazy. Wait, that's actually so much
they have
crazier.
The money.
It's just like, but buying food for my kid is just really expensive. So can you cook for him?
Expensive.
Can you cook for him? Can you grow
and we
food?
were thinking about I don't know, going to Fiji this summer.
Yeah, it's I just really, really don't want to budget that in. Want to cut that off.
Yeah.
Come on, man. which definitely leaves me with a yuck. I have contrary feelings I don't share with them on that. There is an update. That grown child of mine and his wife moved into their new place. I haven't seen them since they moved. They've been hosting game nights and such for their friends, and they work and all that. Basically, they have lives to live, and that's all well and good, and I assumed that's why I hadn't really seen them. Remember, they're now 1.5 hours from where I live. I messaged and invited them to come visit and let them know I had dinner cooking. All day cooking meal, not like done in an hour timeline. Normal enough. Figured they might have plans, but didn't hurt to invite them. It's the last weekend of summer break for my other two. Adult offspring replies short and curt. I reply asking if I'm missing something. He replies, they would like for me to make more effort. I'm sorry, what? Did you find audacity on clearance? That's so funny. Those of you who said my adult child seems entitled, you've got a point. In the messages that followed, I was reprimanded for my lack of remorse for not providing childcare that they've convinced themselves I had promised. Also, it seems that their friend housewarming party they mentioned to me was meant to have been an explicit invitation, which I, quote, should have known and put forth the effort to come. What?
But if friend's housewarming party?
I think like their housewarming party that she thought only friends were invited to.
Oh.
But if they said that it, quote, was an explicit invitation, then no, if you didn't get the invite.
I think what happened is that they had mentioned offhand, yeah, we are having this housewarming party.
And that was supposed to be like,
yeah, like that was the invite.
Oh my gosh, that is so annoying. But oh wait, it gets better. Never mind that following week, after the friend gathering I didn't go to because as a nearly 50-year-old hanging out with 20-somethings playing games and drinking wasn't where I thought I belonged, I called and offered some furniture we were getting replaced that they had expressed interest in numerous times. They accepted the offer. I attempted to plan a time that I could bring it up with the middle kiddo, but his schedule and the grown one's schedule and my schedule and the weather weren't in alignment at all. So that got tabled, and the middle kid and one of the eldest's friends handled it a week later when they were going up for a gaming night anyway. So now oldest is also saying that I made them feel abandoned while we were on the family vacation. Huh? I think I mentioned before that I took my father, my sibling, and nephew, all three of my boys, their sweethearts, and grandson on a 2-week trip. It was planned for a year. My husband and I covered all meals out together, the house rental, the car rental for the eldest and his wife, because they decided to fly instead of drive 24 hours. The rest of us did the long drive, except my sibling who lives 3 hours from where we went, etc. I told the eldest that they'd have to purchase their own plane tickets, but I handled the rest, birthday, Christmas, and etc., gift planned, and discussed in advance with everyone. They decided to shorten their time. Then his bio dad planned something, and they decided to go spend time with his bio dad's family in a different location. That's fine and good. But my son and his wife and the grandboy leave to go to the airport. My dad, husband, my sister, and I are sitting outside 2 hours later. I'm enjoying an adult beverage, something I rarely do, but my sister and I were enjoying solving the world's problems and catching up as we hadn't seen each other in a few years. I get a call from daughter-in-law. Flight delays will cause them to miss connecting flight. Can we come get them? I suggest that they should get a hotel room near the airport. The eldest gets online and says that the hotels are sold out. I tell him we aren't in condition to be driving. I'll call back in a second. I look up hotels, call the first one, reserve a room for them. Nice king suite. Some of you will understand why I'm making this point. And I call the son back. Send him the hotel info. Tell him I've paid for it. He can use my account for his Uber for the hotel 1.2 miles from the airport in Vermont. Y'all, not like we're talking DTW. And then he says, you couldn't stay sober. My dude, you're 26, married, professional jobs, and you did what millions of Americans have done and millions more will do. Stay at a hotel near the airport when you gotta change the flight schedule. But mom paid. Also, his wife thinks it's weird we don't party and don't serve booze at holidays. There's a lot of daily beveraging in their own family and in the cultural background she's from. But suddenly I have a drinking problem for having a cold beverage at 6 p.m. on vacation. My husband laughed so hard about this. Yeah, your one drink every 2 months is really getting out of hand. You might need help. Fast forward to tonight. I've been informed I, quote, made him feel like an inconvenience. And he hopes that he always remembers
You are an
parenting in
inconvenience. You're
What?
inconveniencing me because you're annoying.
Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, it is an inconvenience because you couldn't do it yourself.
Yeah, man.
But I did it, and I'm not the one complaining.
OP hasn't said anything.
Yeah, literally.
I'm telling you that you're an inconvenience. Me.
That's crazy. He said he hopes he always remembers parenting is for life.
Dang, that's funny. That's funny coming from a guy who didn't even want to parent his, like, he wanted to make you
Literally.
parent his child.
Literally.
Wow. He's like, yeah, I can't believe you don't even want to, like, try and be a parent to me now. Huh?
That is so insane. Are you so for real right now? I finally took the kid gloves off and told him that parenting is for life, but he is a whole grown up and it is beyond time he comes to navigate adulthood. That he, like I and millions of parents, will manage the expenses of parenting, including childcare. That he knows our family would never leave someone starving. No one is going to go hungry. But I'm not setting myself on fire to keep him warm because he doesn't like $250 a week in childcare. And for those new to the story, no, they aren't financially hurting. Yes, they make enough to cover absolutely all their needs and many wants. By the way, I want you to go to your favorite podcast app, whether that's iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you so choose, and search OK Storytime because you're going to find full episodes with more stories just like this one. Get on over there.
Come on.
Get on over there. But there is a little bit more to this story. But this boy, this 26-year-old child, my goodness.
He has a whole child of his own and still acting like a baby.
How is a baby going to raise a baby?
You can't. Baby
can't.
can't raise a baby.
Baby can't raise a baby.
Gotta figure out how to be an adult before you raise a baby.
Mr. Baby.
Mr. Baby Man.
God, man.
Yeah, no, this is frustrating as a parent, I think, to, like,
Yeah.
still, like, have a child this frustrating.
Right. Right. Because it's like, I wonder as a parent how that really does feel. Because it's like, well, like,
This is
I
my
do
kid.
want to help you.
Yeah.
But, like, I haven't. It doesn't seem like she's been babying him.
No.
Like, it really just seems like he's just all of a sudden demanding.
I
for
feel like
more.
maybe influenced by his wife.
I was wondering that too. Like, I'm wondering if this is just kind of like, I wonder
How
if her
he
parents
is, yeah.
baby her, and now that he's with her, she's like, oh my gosh, like they don't do this for you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then they demand more. I don't know, man.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like she should be asking her parents for the free childcare.
Right? Where are they? He threatened to cut me off. I told him he would have to do what he saw fitting if he felt that I had fallen so short. He threw some jab at my example for cutting off my own mother, but it was just an attempt at getting a reaction from me because he knows well and good why I went no contact with her 6 years ago. She insulted my ASD son and eldest son as my final straw with her. The history of her was the abuse at almost every level for the entirety of my life, severe physical and verbal abuse, and the types of things that made me weep with identification while reading A Child Called It. Like, okay, dude, if you think that my shortcomings warrant no contact, then you'll just have to do what you see fit. And that is the end of that story.